Hey y'all, I'm Carrie,
I'm Momo.
and this is Monstrous. This episode contains language and topics that may not be suitable for all listeners, including discussions of severe illness, neurological horror, and death that may be triggering to some.
Okay, then I got to leave.
Listener discretion is advised. Okay, guys, welcome back. I'm glad that you're here with us again today. I just want to say before we get into anything else that this one is a little different.
They're all a little different in one way or another.
This episode is a little different, a little messy, and a little bit of how did this ever seem like a good idea kind of episode.
Why are you talking about our family? No, I'm kidding.
So today we are going to talk about amusement park disasters.
Shoot.
hmm Okay, now I know it sounds almost fake in a way because amusement parks are supposed to be a fun place. The screaming, the lights, the funnel cakes, the overpriced soda, and the rides that make you
The
question your
overpriced period.
and the rides that make you question your life choices for about 3 seconds. And then immediately to turn around and wait in line again. But underneath all of that nostalgia and noise, there's a darker side to the history of amusement parks. And unfortunately, sometimes the thing that was supposed to be fun for the whole family turns into a scene that nobody will ever forget, which is exactly what we're going to get into today.
Hey, have you ever taken the boys to Adventureland?
No, I'm very iffy about Adventureland because there's been a few disasters there.
There's been a few disasters everywhere.
And one that actually was not that long ago. I'm very iffy because the maintenance from, like, when I went and when Mike went has, from what I've looked into, has kinda went downhill. They don't keep up with stuff like they used to. 'Cause I
See, and that's surprises me because that's all federally regulated.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, and Adventureland, they huge when I was in school. We used to go every summer.
Yeah, I remember.
Yep. My whole school took a trip to Adventureland.
Didn't your mom and Jason take you guys one time?
Um I don't remember if they said that. I know I went with Whitney and Shayla a couple times in school. I went with my,
Yeah, because I
chorus
had the two
group.
little girls.
They might have, I don't remember.
Took you and Brooke and left the two little
I
girls with
went a cou
me.
I went a couple years for my birthday, but I don't remember who I went with.
I
That might have
think
been it.
I think or at least they left at least Harley with me,
Right,
depending on what year it was,
right.
you know?
Yeah, we used to go all the time. So but now I'm iffy about it 'cause they don't take care of it. It's not what it used to be.
Yes, is what it used to be, sweetheart.
Yeah. So, but I can't wait till they're big enough. They're both big enough. Logan is big enough now where he could ride all the rides. Dax is Dax is still
In that
in that middle, yeah,
yeah.
but I can't wait. So,
Although his
speaking of
mouth
that
cock's older bigger than he is.
speaking of that, I am in no way telling anyone to not go to an amusement park. I love a good roller coaster. I always have.
I wanna go back to Disneyland.
Never been.
Oh, man.
Nope, never been. I, love a good roller coaster. I always have. There's only ever been one roller coaster that I will not get on. It's at Carowinds.
Oh, okay.
Yep, it's the Dale Earnhardt Jr. coaster.
Oh, I didn't know who they named one
Mhm.
after him.
It's called the Intimidator, I believe is what it's called. The seats, no thank you. There's no seatbelt, or at least last time we went to Carowinds, no seatbelt.
Oh, hell
All
no.
you have is a fucking lap bar, and
No.
it goes, like, in circle like, loops and stuff. No, I'm good.
Is it turn left?
I was the only one in our entire group that did not get on it. No,
Well,
because
that's
if that
alright.
lap bar fails, I'm falling the fuck out.
And
There's
you ain't no
nothing to
and you
hold
weren't
me.
and yet at that time, you weren't really no bigger than a minute.
Right, like, because Logan was still itty bitty. Like, no, I'm good.
I remember when you guys went to Carowinds.
Mhm.
You and Mike and
Robert
Robert
and Elena.
and Papa and
No, Papa didn't wasn't able to go, he had to work. Because we went to Carowinds and Carowinds. We went up for Halloween.
that's right.
Yep.
You took Logan? Or
Mm-mm.
did you leave him with me?
No, he stayed with, one of our neighbors, the
Oh,
little
I'm sorry,
older
I think
neighbor.
I had to work.
Yeah, you if I remember correctly, you had to work or you had a doctor's appointment. We left really early 'cause we were gone all day. But he stayed with the little older neighbor lady that he just absolutely loved. That's because she gave him all kinds of freaking candy. She had a bowl of candy on her table, and we went down there. She let him have as much as he wanted.
The toddler on sugar rush.
Pretty much, yep.
No.
She didn't care. She absolutely loved Logan.
Everybody loved Logan when he was little.
Okay, anyway. Sorry, guys.
Sorry, we got off
Going
on
on.
a tangent.
Yep, sorry. So, like I said, I'm not in any way telling anyone not to go to an amusement park. They're fun. They're,
Expensive.
uh, you know, great bonding, first time experiences, things like that. However, take the knowledge from today, do the research into the park before you go. Some parks, since these types of disasters, have made changes, and they may change it. Some of them even made changes before the same disasters hit, but some didn't and still don't. And some they just don't keep up with the ride maintenance. That's a lot of what the problem is.
Yeah.
So just be knowledgeable before you go. So with that being said, I'm going to ask you a question. When you think of an amusement park, what is the first thing that comes to
I'm too fat for these rides.
mind? For me, it's the sound of people screaming like they're having the time of their life or witnessing the end of the world. Which honestly, at a lot of these parks, it could really be either one or both at the same time.
No, thank you.
So if you're ready with that build up, we're going to climb aboard and take a roller coaster ride. Are you ready? Strapped in? Ready to go up
I
the
have no
little hill?
seatbelt. I don't even have a lap bar.
Okay, so let's get into it. Before we talk about the disasters, we need to talk about what amusement parks actually are, where they came from, and why they became such a huge part of the entertainment culture. The idea of an amusement park is much older than most people realize it is. So long before roller coasters and the giant Ferris wheels, there were pleasure gardens and fairgrounds where people gathered for music, food, games, and entertainment. These places were built around the idea of spending a day outside of your normal life and stepping into something much more exciting, more colorful, and a little less predictable. Now, one of the earliest amusement parks in the world is often cited as Bakken in Denmark, which had opened in 1583.
Dang.
So, amusement parks have been around a lot longer than we realize they have been. So, this fact alone is wild to think about because when we picture amusement park, you picture the bright light, the still tracks, the water slides, the snack stands, all of the modern things that we have. But the concept itself has been around for centuries. So in the 18th and 19th centuries, amusement parks began to evolve alongside industrialization and urban life. As cities grew, people wanted places to escape to on the weekends and holidays. Parks became a kind of release valve for everyday life.
Is the casino an amusement park for me?
No, these parks offered rides, performances, games, and social spaces where families, couples, and even groups of friends were able to get away and spend all day. Awesome.
They got, Circus, and one of them has a big fair. They're some of them became more family friendly.
Right.
You know, they got, like, a Ferris wheel and a roller
Oh,
coaster going through the casino and
pretty
rides.
cool.
Yeah, it see what it costs to go in there, but
Right. You know that's expensive.
especially when a buffet costs you $98 a person.
Jesus Christ. Ain't no food worth that.
It's all seafood, Carrie,
Oh
stuff
my
you like, crab
but
legs and
still, I
lobster.
don't like it that bad. I don't like it that much.
And you used to be able to get a shrimp cocktail for 99 cents.
$98. That is
Well, that's,
Jesus.
down on the strip where it's more.
More expensive. That
Yeah.
would make sense.
Now if you're downtown, it's probably a little more reasonable.
Probably.
I think well, it's been, like, 19 years since we took dad to Vegas for Father's Day and his birthday.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think it was a
so
couple years
you know
before.
everything
Well, I've
is
been since then.
oh, yeah, you have.
I've been twice since then. We went for Debbie's, 60th birthday,
Yep, I remember.
and then just a couple years ago,
Mhm.
after I flew out,
Right.
she flew me out for a
Mhm.
weekend. It's some fun. That's when I got my hand busted open.
Okay, anyway. Sorry, guys. We're just keep side trailing today. So, then came the roller coaster era, and everything got louder, faster, and much more dangerous.
Yeah, them little suckers can throw you out of there.
Oh, yeah. So, when we went to Carowinds, I got on the, oh gosh, I can't think of what it's called now. Oh, it's gonna bother me. But it's 360 feet in the air.
Oh, hell no.
It goes 360 miles an hour,
No.
and it has a multiple 360-degree loops, and it goes under the park. I
No.
loved that ride. It was amazing.
I know.
Yep, I
I'm
rode that
terri
thing.
I having trouble getting up on a stepladder.
I rode that thing I don't know how many times. Loved that ride.
Yes, 'cause you're weird.
Yep. Oh, it was amazing. Loved it.
I bet you Dak would.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Daredevil himself.
Oh, yeah. It was
Oh,
amazing.
honey.
Okay, anyway, sorry. By the early 20th century, amusement parks began to boom in the United States. Many were built near trolley lines and transit routes, which made them easy to reach for working families looking for one simple day of fun. These parks were often, during this time, made of wooden coasters, dance halls, shooting galleries, carousels, and live entertainment. They were part carnival, part community event, and part daredevil experiment.
Weren't they part circus too sometimes?
Some of them, yeah. Some of them would have in the live entertainment portion, they would, have animals come out
Clowns
and
and
yeah,
yeah, they can keep clowns.
yep. Carowinds is like that during Halloween, they call it Scarowinds. All of their employees dress up as scary characters, and they
How
go around
fun.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. You can still ride the rides, but it's nighttime, and they decorate the rides like the ones that have water underneath, they put when we went, they had, like, fake dead bodies in the water.
Oh, that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yep, you get to ride the rides at night, they have them all lit up, it's a lot of fun.
Get glow sticks in them so you can see
Yep.
them.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yep, it was a lot of fun. Okay, sorry. Then in 1955, Disneyland opened in California, and that changed
That's
everything.
71 years.
Yep.
That was same year as Auntie was born.
Mhm. So Disneyland helped shape the modern theme park model. They had immersive lands, branded attractions, a stronger focus on the storytelling aspect, and a more controlled guest experience than other parks before them. This wasn't just a collection of rides anymore. It was an entire world. And once that model took hold, amusement parks became even bigger, more ambitious, and more expensive to build and operate. But the bigger and more complex the park became, the more room there was for things to go wrong. And boy, did they go wrong. And things went wrong a lot. So amusement parks have always had kind of a balance. It's always been a balance of fun with risk. That risk comes from the high speeds, the height, the water that they sometimes include, the mechanical systems, crowds, weather, maintenance issues, and human error. The
That's right.
problem, oh yeah, definitely. So the problem is that when parks cut corners, when they ignore warning signs or rely on the idea that it'll probably be fine, the consequences can be catastrophic. And this brings us to our first park disaster. So our first stop is Krug Park in Omaha, Nebraska. Krug Park opened in the early 20th century, and it was one of those classic amusement parks that helped define the era. It had the kind of atmosphere that people expected from a big summer destination. Rides, attractions, music, crowds, and all the bright excitement that came with the local park trying to compete with the bigger entertainment venues. And then came the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper was a wooden roller coaster, the kind of ride that had all the charm and danger people associated with those early amusement parks. The wooden coasters are their own kind of beautiful chaos. I love a good wooden roller coaster, just saying.
Yep.
So these coasters rattle, they creak, they shake, and they make you feel like you're riding inside a structure that's held together by nothing but pure optimism. Then, on July 10/30, it was this was a hot summer day in Omaha. It was the kind of day that practically begged people to head out to the park for some relief, laughter, and a little bit of excitement. Families and couples came out expecting the usual sights and sounds of a busy amusement park: music, laughter, the clatter of the rides, and the constant hum of people trying to squeeze just a little bit of joy out of a hot summer day. Now, the Big Dipper was running like it had many other times before. People were loaded into cars, probably not thinking twice about it. That's the part that always makes these stories so awful. Nobody gets onto a ride expecting it to become the worst moment of their entire life. Now, partway through this one ride, on a sharp curve after the first drop, something went terribly wrong. A bolt that was securing a wheel to the axle broke loose, causing the car to jump the track. The wooden structure, which was already strained from years of heavy use and inadequate maintenance, couldn't hold up. Cars derailed violently, splintering rails and collapsing sections of the framework in a chain reaction of wood cracking and metal screeching. Riders were thrown from the cars and even pinned in the wreckage.
Mm.
Some were trapped under twisted metal and shattered timber, unable to move as the rescuers worked frantically to free them. Now, the primary causes of death, because there was loss here, were massive blunt force trauma from the impact. There were crushed skulls, broken necks, and internal injuries from being hurled against the structure or crushed beneath debris. The survivors would suffer compound fractures, lacerations from flying splinters, spinal injuries, and concussions.
It was probably like shrapnel.
Oh, yeah. Many of these survivors were left paralyzed or with lifelong disabilities. By the time it was over, four people were dead. These were two young women and two young men, and there were dozens more injured. So, with the scene now looking like a war zone amid the park's cheerful backdrop, the emergency response in 1930 was limited. There were no ambulances on speed dial, no coordinated trauma teams. Instead, it was the park staff, local police, and bystanders who rushed in with whatever tools they had: axes to chop away the debris, blankets to carry the wounded, and doctors summoned from nearby who triaged on site amid all of the chaos. It would end up taking hours to clear everyone out, with crowds of horrified onlookers pressing against the barriers that had been placed. Now, the aftermath from this was obviously immediate and severe. So, the park faced multiple lawsuits from the victims' families, alleging negligence in maintenance and operation, and the settlements for each of these were reached quietly. But the financial toll this took crippled the park's operations. The public scrutiny exploded in the newspapers, branding the park as recklessly unsafe. Now, this broader reaction tapped into growing unease about those early amusement parks nationwide. Wooden coasters were often built cheaply. They were inspected sporadically, if at all, and they were operated by minimally trained teams. Stories like this fueled calls for regulation, highlighting how the parks prioritized thrills over the engineering rigor. One of the most significant consequences was that the city of Omaha itself banned roller coasters outright. And this was a huge deal because it showed how one catastrophe could affect not just one park, but the entire local amusement culture. So during this time, if you wanted to go to a roller coaster, you had to leave Omaha to do that. She's just shaking
This
her
is
head.
crazy.
Now, Krug Park itself did not survive as an amusement destination in the way that it once existed. Over time, the property changed, and the park's legacy became tied more to the tragedy than to the joy that it once offered. Today, this site is no longer operating as the amusement park that it once was. It ended up becoming Gallagher Park. And while the land still does exist, all those thrill rides and the carnival energy are long gone. And that's the part of what makes these kind of disasters haunting. A park can go from a symbol of summer fun to a cautionary tale in just a matter of minutes.
That is crazy.
And that is Krug Park.
That's just crazy.
Oh,
No, thank you.
just wait. That's not even the worst of 'em. So now we're gonna move into a case that somehow is even more chaotic because this one is not just one singular disaster story like Fruit Park. This park has a whole pattern of them. So if amusement parks had a villain origin story, then action park would be one of the first names that people would bring up. So Action Park opened in Vernon, New Jersey in the late 1970s, specifically in June of 1978. It was under the ownership of businessman Gene Mulvihill and his Great Adventure Company. It was built as a revolutionary action park where guests could test their limits on extreme rides, water slides, and go karts that no other park dared to offer. It was nestled into the wooded hills and it drew massive crowds from New York City and beyond with cheap tickets, booze sales, which is very unusual for
Mhm.
family oriented amusement parks, and a wild anything goes vibe that felt like a summer camp gone rogue. By the peak of the 1980s, it was packing in over 1 million visitors in 1 year.
Dang.
This popularity was fueled by word of mouth about its unhinged thrills amid confession stands, slinging beer to teens and adults alike.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah. Now, unlike a single disaster tale, Action Park's horror unfolded as a relentless pattern of chaos over more than a decade, earning nicknames like Class Action Park for all the lawsuits they faced and Traction Park for all the injuries. The park's infamous rides, like the Cannonball Loop, which was a near vertical water slide loop that often ejected riders from it,
Oh my Lanta.
Alpine Slide, which was a concrete luge where frictionless wax caused uncontrollable speeds, and the infamous Cannon Coaster, which was a motorized go kart track with hairpin turns.
Uh-uh.
Yeah. These were often untested prototypes that had been pushed into service without proper safety engineering. So they're like, "Oh, okay, we created this. Let's just put it out there. We're gonna make sure it's safe in any kind of way."
Nope. Uh-uh. Mm-mm.
Mulvihill's philosophy was that guests want action. So he skimmed on the barriers, the restraints, and staff training, hiring mostly teenagers with minimal oversight and letting riders operate the vehicles themselves. Yeah. So days at Action Park typically began with a sunny promise. The gates would open at 10 a.m. to throngs of families, teens, and day trippers thrashing on sunscreen, grabbing beers, and queuing for the water park section first. The air hummed with splashes, screams, and laughter as crowds hit the 13-story high King de Ka precursor slides or the treacherous Lupa Plane swing ride. She's just shaking her head.
I'll pass.
But by midday, the vibe soared. Lines would grow chaotic, fights would break out over priority, and the first injuries trickled in. Road rash from the Alpine slide, where the slides flew off at over 40 miles an hour and launched you into rocks or the guardrail.
No!
Yeah. Whiplash from sudden stops on the go karts,
That's a death waiting to happen.
and drowning in the unsupervised wave pools. Yeah,
Nope. Wrong.
right. That's all I'm saying. No, thank you. So the real body
Ever.
Now the real body count mounted throughout the 1980s. There are least there were at least 6 confirmed deaths, and this started with a 1980 drowning of an 18-year-old in the wave pool. This was blamed on lifeguard lapses amid the overcrowding, followed by heart attacks on the high G rides like the infamous 25-story free fall tower swing, where unfit riders blacked out and collapsed, electrocutions from exposed wiring on wet platforms, and fatal head injuries from ejections on the Cannonball Loop, where lighters where riders were launched headfirst into walls or the pools. The injuries were epidemic. Over 100 hospitalizations yearly by some accounts that I could find. These injuries included spinal fractures, concussions, broken necks, lacerations from barbed wire fences near the slides, which who who the hell puts barbed wire fence near a slide that children are gonna be on?
People
Anybody,
that
but especially children. I don't understand.
people
There
that are stupid,
right. There were burns from chemical imbalances in the pool, so they couldn't even keep the pool level correct.
and it's not that hard.
No, it's not. We do it every year in our pool. It's not difficult.
You take the water, you test it, you either add some or add more water to thin it out,
Right. Yeah, it's not hard.
basically.
Basically, yeah. You have literally everything you need. You can buy at a store to fix the level. It's not difficult. Anyway, there were
That's
also
just
some
freaking
comas
crazy.
caused from hypoxic drowning.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. Now, riders were often trapped in overturned vehicles. Some were pinned under collapsed fences, and some were even left floating unconscious in deep water, with understaffed teens yelling for the supervisors who were nowhere to be found.
Of course not.
Yeah. Emergency response was a park-wide scramble. The local Vernon Volunteer Fire Department and ambulances had raced in multiple times every day, airlifting critical cases to Morristown Hospital amid lawsuits piling up. There were over 100 by the time the park closed, with multi-million-dollar settlements for negligence, including a $1 million payout in one of the drowning cases. Mulvihill fought claims aggressively, often blaming user error or assumption of risk. I'm sorry, nobody thinks I'm gonna go to a water park today and get in the wave pool and I'm gonna drown.
Hey, I'm
Like,
gonna do that. I'm gonna stay home and get in my bathtub.
right, like nobody thinks that's gonna happen because there's lifeguards for a reason. Now, public outrage grew through media exposés like the 1980s New York Post calling it a death park. The broader reaction exposed systematic flaws in the U.S. amusement park regulations. A federal roller coaster loophole had left oversight to states, and New Jersey's lax rules allowed unpermitted ride mods. The critics slammed parks like Action Park as profit driven death traps run by untrained kids, sparking national calls for the ASTM standards and federal safety bills. It's awful that things like this have to happen before we put regulations in place. Can we just as a civilized society assume that
Me. Good Mountain Dew.
somebody could potentially get hurt and just put regulations in place before it ever happens? Like, have we not learned from anything?
No,
People are gonna people, okay,
people are stupid.
right? People are gonna do
No offense, folks.
people are gonna do stupid shit, okay? Especially kids. They their brains are underdeveloped, all right? They make rash decisions like, "Oh, it sounds fun to jump off of this 50-foot bridge over here. Let's do it," without thinking, "I could possibly die," okay? Because that's their brains aren't fully developed. Teens are stupid. Kids are stupid, okay? Like, that sounds awful. I feel like everyone knows what I mean.
Teenagers ain't got no damn
And
sense.
people are going to
And
people.
that's been years and
Right.
years and
It's
years.
just the way it is. Their brains aren't fully developed. So I'm gonna show off for my friends and put my safety aside. That's what I mean by like they're stupid. But people are gonna people no matter what age they are, no matter where they come from. So can we just assume, okay, learn from history. Can we just assume that somebody is gonna do something stupid and they're gonna get hurt and put laws and regulations in place before it happens? Why does it take tragedy for us as a society to do anything to prevent it? Like, it just makes no sense to me.
I
Be
know.
proactive, okay? Anyway, let me let me move on. I'm
She's
just
off on a tangent.
yep, I'm off on a rant right now. stupid. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay. Conduct myself. Now,
Breathe.
now by 1996, the mounting lawsuits, which totaled tens of millions of dollars in 96. Okay. So you can only imagine how much it is today. I did not do the math, but this was from insurance cancellations and DA probes park, forced the park to close. So Mullaville sold it off. It then would go on to reopen under new owners as Mountain Creek Water Park in 1998 under much stricter management. And they had stripped away those extreme rides that the park once had. So today, the site operates as Mountain Creek Resort. It has water slides that are sanitized daily, go karts, which are tamed and controlled, and the Action Park legend immortalized in documentaries like HBO's Class Action Park, a grim reminder of how unchecked capitalism and thrill seeking can lead to catastrophic results. So, in the end, if there's one lesson that we can learn from Action Park, it's this: just because people are willing to line up for danger does not mean that you should let them find it.
No, because that makes doesn't make it right.
Exactly. Like, I love me a good roller coaster, okay? But I'm not expecting to go in there and be shot off a fucking slide 50 feet from where I should have landed. I'm not expecting to end up in a coma
Oops, I missed.
when I leave an amusement park. You know what I mean? Like, what assumption of risk are we accepting here? According to this guy, death. Anyway, so if Krug Park was the warning shot and Action Park was the full scale siren, we're going to go from one kind of thrill disaster to another one.
Oh,
So our next case takes us over the pond to Battersea Fun Fair in London. So this park had the kind of old school amusement park atmosphere that people often imagine when they think of the classic fairground entertainment. It was lively, crowded, colorful, and full of the kinds of rides that were meant to dazzle guests and make them forget about the outside world for just a little while. But in 1972, tragedy struck when the Big Dipper roller coaster derailed. So it was May 30th, 1972. It was a bank holiday weekend in the UK, with families pouring into Battersea Park under clear skies and eager for a day of affordable thrills at the fun fair that had been a seasonal staple since its opening in the 90s. Children clutched their cotton candy, parents snapped their photos, and the air buzzed with laughter, carousel music, and the rhythmic clack of coaster trains climbing their lifts. Now, the Big Dipper, which is a classic wooden roller coaster with steep drops and hairpin turns built in 1951, was packed with excited riders. Many of them kids too young to fully grasp the risk of its aging timber frame and outdated safety restraints. On this one, it just had lap bars on open cars. Yeah.
yeah, so stupid.
There were no actual safety belts. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I'll pass, thank you.
This ride also had a history of minor maintenance complaints brushed off by operators. Yep.
That's
So,
sad when the operators won't even.
yep. So, like, okay, yeah, this is minor, but something minor can become something major very quickly.
Oh, yeah, happens, yeah.
Yep. And the operators were like, oh, it's fine. It's just a loose bolt. No big deal. Who cares? Yeah. That's the attitude they had. Idiot. Anyway, the day started like any other peak holiday. The gates swung open at dawn to throngs of Londoners escaping the city, ice creams melting in the sun, and the fair running at full capacity with long queues snaking around the midway. But midway through that afternoon run, as the 8-car train, which was loaded beyond capacity with 31 riders, hit a tight left-hand curve at over 40 miles an hour after the second major drop.
No,
Cat- and catastrophe erupted in heartbeats.
I saw that one coming.
Yep. A weakened coupling link between the final cars snapped under excessive centrifugal force, exacerbated by mental fatigue, insufficient lubrication, overloaded weight, and track warping from years of deferred repairs on a budget conscious ride. The rear car flew off the rails first. smashing into a steel support stanchion with bone-crushing force. The chain reaction the chain reaction that followed buckled the wood trestle. Well, you gotta be careful, dude. What happens when you wrestle? Okay. This sent cars piling into a 40-foot heap of splintered beams, crumpled chassis, and twisted girders while riders were flung like rag dolls. 5 people died in this carnage. 3 young girls, Leslie Hall, who was 8, Susan Dawson, who was 11, and Margaret Bailey, who was 13,
Just babies.
plus 18-year-old Christine Dray and 29-year-old Rory Sedgwick. They were all killed by decapitation, severed spinal cords, crushed skulls, and arterial ruptures from the high-speed impact against concrete pillars,
Mm.
jagged metal, or flying debris. Over 20 survivors suffered horrific injuries, which included compound leg fractures protruding through the skin,
Ow!
deep lacerations from wood shards that had embedded into the flesh, traumatic brain injuries, which resulted in comas, severed limbs, and internal hemorrhaging.
That's making my legs hurt. You saying all that.
Yep. Several children were pinned upside down in inverted cars, their legs dangling limply as blood dripped onto rescuers below. They had also been trapped under tons of wreckage for agonizing minutes, their cries piercing the stunned silence amid candy wrappers and abandoned toys. Now, once this happened, the scene developed into pandemonium. Fairground staff froze in shock before grabbing ropes and ladders while the Metropolitan Police, the London Fire Brigade, and 15 ambulances converged all within 15 minutes. So they had a pretty quick response time. Have to give,
I'll give them that.
yeah,
Dude.
gotta give them that. They deployed oxy-acetylene torches, hydraulic rams, and cranes to painstakingly free the entangled for over 3 grueling hours.
Mm.
Because you have to take your time with stuff like this. Because if you do it too quickly, you could cause whatever injuries they have to be worse.
Just thinking about this breaking my heart.
You know, cracked skulls, spinal injuries, things like that. You have to be extremely careful because a simple spine injury can make someone paralyzed if you do not do it correctly. So it takes a lot of time to be able to get through something like this without causing the injuries to be worse. Now, helicopter medevacs whisked the worst to St. Thomas Hospital as hysterical parents clawed through the barriers, and helicopters buzzed overhead, filming the wreckage for the evening news that shocked the nation.
That's crazy.
So the aftermath from this included a major investigation and public concerns about ride safety. A board of trade inquiry lambasted owner John Collins and operator T.W. Ward for criminal negligence, which was the overcrowding and the ignored defects in the untrained staff, who their dispatch operator was an untrained 19-year-old. The criminal negligence also included the fake safety certificates. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a lawsuit.
This also led to manslaughter charges against Collins, which were unfortunately later dropped on technicalities. The lawsuits, which this, like I said, this is in the UK, so I'm not exactly sure. I don't really know anything about how their law system works. So who knows what the technicality was? I couldn't find exactly what it was. Now, the lawsuits over this netted over 500,000 euros in settlements for U.S. families. In US dollars today, that is roughly $3.9 million.
Still ain't enough.
No, definitely not.
That still ain't enough. I don't care.
No, because it's from my understanding,
He
that was
should have been
split.
criminally held responsible.
They were charged and everything with criminal negligence, but unfortunately, the manslaughter charges, like I said, those were dropped for whatever reason. I
Man.
hate that they were dropped.
Yeah, but that's over UK, so
Yeah,
their justice laws may be different than
right,
ours.
that's what I said. I don't know exactly what their laws are over there. As far as the manslaughter charges, I'm not sure what is required to actually be able to meet those,
Right.
and I didn't even think to look up. So, any of our UK listeners, let us know, please.
Yeah, we'd like to know if
Oh,
they're
yeah.
different than ours.
That's why I like doing the international cases because the district and the laws and their charges, all that, it's so different than what ours is. So interesting to see that. Especially the UK because most of our laws, that's where they originated from,
Right.
was when we came from whenever Americans, way back when, um,
Two.
came from
Yeah.
the UK to establish America, their laws came with them. And so a lot of our laws are rooted in UK systems, but they're still so different.
Yes. Yeah.
It's wild to me, and I love it. I love to see it. So any of our UK listeners, let us know, um, what the manslaughter charge, like, what exactly they have to be able to charge someone with that, and I guess what the technicalities would be for something like that
That's
to be
crazy
dropped.
though.
Okay, so anyway, now the parks insurers did end up putting most of those out of court costs.
That's why they were so life because the insurance company. Well, we'll give you this if you drop the lawsuit.
Yeah. Um, Now the broader
Not
out
me.
right. Take a 7 for a jury. I'm sorry, that's not enough because it was split between all of those families. That's just okay, anyway, sorry. The broader outrage exploded into the tabloids, like the Sun decrying killer fun fairs as the playgrounds for profits over kids' lives. Uh, these exposés exposed how 1970s UK fairgrounds dodged national regulations via local council rubber stamps, sparking the 1973 Fairgrounds Act and the HSE mandated annual engineering inspection that transformed the entire industry.
And it should.
Oh, yeah. There stuff like this, there has to be okay, I'm just gonna move on 'cause I'm get
Somebody's got to be held accountable.
right, exactly. I'm gonna keep going because I'm just gonna get into my rant again. I don't think anybody wants to hear it again. Okay, so Battersea Fun Fair itself did not continue in the same way after this disaster. The park's legacy is now tied heavily to this single crash, and the location is better remembered for what happened there than for the fun that it once offered. And that's how it goes. One tragedy just
Kills
erases
it for
everything
everything
else.
else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now there's a reason that stories like this stick with people. A tragedy like this rewrites a place in public memory. One day, it's a destination. The next, it's the answer to the question, how did this go so wrong?
It's like, what the hell?
Right. Like, how in the world could we be having fun 1 minute and then 5 minutes later
My daughter's dead. My
right,
child is dead.
right.
Yeah, no. That's why I don't go. You guys go to those places. Yeah, I'm staying home.
I can
Sorry.
barely hear you. It's okay.
I'm staying home. I'm not going. I'm too fat and too old.
Like, a lot of people are like, "Oh, you're so finicky and you're this and you're that." No, like, I know that tragedy strikes. I know it happens, and a lot of times it's unexpected. Like, you don't see it coming,
No, you
and
don't.
that's why anytime we do any kind of trip or we go to any place, especially places that we've never been before, I look into them.
Well, honey, I don't blame you.
I make sure I look at the reviews, I look at pictures, I make sure that it's safe. Because if I don't feel comfortable with what I'm seeing online, I'm not taking my children to it.
Oh, shoot, no. Those are my babies. No, you ain't taking them. No,
Which
those are my babies.
and that's why I said at the beginning of this, go. Go do those things. Like, don't let things like this keep you from doing that.
Go have fun, but
Do your research. Just check into
be
it.
smart about it.
In today's world, if something goes wrong, it's online. It's easy to find. Just do a little bit of looking. See what, you know, most amusement parks do have tragedies, and I mean, it's not entirely avoidable. Did they correct the issue? That kind of stuff. So now this is gonna lead us to our final case, which takes
Yay, no.
this takes the amusement park disaster story into a more modern water park setting. And this
See, in
one
water parks, 7, there are
They're
Not as a
more
they haven't been around as long as the regular amusement
right,
park,
water parks are more of a modern thing.
20 cents.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
doesn't, Disneyland have a water park?
yeah, yep. Thanks for last time it's been a long time since
What
I
about
went.
Carowinds?
Yeah,
Yeah, I've never been to either place.
yep, a lot of amusement parks also have water parks, and that's because they're able to earn they're all year, because when it's too cold, the wa
Amusement park sets in, and when it's warmer, the water park.
and then when it's warmer, you have both parks.
Yeah,
So, okay, so now our last one is pretty sad. I mean, they've all been sad, but okay, so are you
I'm
ready?
listening.
Okay. So our final case takes us to Schlitterbahn Water Park in Kansas City, Kansas. Now, this modern water park represented the cutting edge of summer thrill. The gleaming fiberglass towers piercing and the piercing blue Kansas skies, blasting the pop radio from speakers and lines of families slathering sunscreen for what was billed as the ultimate water park experience. Schlitterbahn had built its reputation on record-breaking attraction, and none more audacious than the Verrückt. I hope I'm saying that correct. I think it's German, so I hope I'm saying it correct, but it translates to the maddest. Maddest. It won the Guinness's World Record for the tallest water slide at 168.
Oh, no!
It promised 100 and a hu it promised a 125-foot free fall at over 60 miles an hour through 45-degree drops that engineers had warned were physically impossible to control. Now, on August 7th of 2016, so 10 years ago, a perfect summer day appeared. It was a Sunday. Caleb Schwab, who was 10 years old, was riding with his family during a church outing. The day hummed with typical water park chaos. Kids shrieking down body slides, teens racing tube chutes, and parents snapping photos by the lazy river as the chlorine scent mixed with funnel cake drinks. Now, the Burkett's 17-person raft line snaked up 15 stories. Operators barked safety instructions about interlocking legs while ignoring the ride's documented history of rafts flying off track during the test. Then it happened in seconds. Caleb's raft hit the first 50-foot plunge at extremely high speeds, like highway speeds. And physics betrayed the slide's design. The steep angle and excessive weight punched them airborne. The raft rocketed up the hump and it became completely airborne. And I mean, like a ramp airborne.
No, thank
It
you.
it flipped violently midair, and Caleb was instantly okay. I gotta put a trigger warning here. Okay, this is awful. And Caleb was instantly decapitated on the steel safety netting designed to prevent ejections. His cause of death was listed as blunt force trauma from high velocity impact with the mesh, and his body nearly severed. Two other women had been in that same raft with Caleb. They both suffered traumatic brain injuries, lacerations, and compression fractures when the raft slammed back down into concrete.
That makes my body hurt just
Yeah.
thinking about it.
There were others that were thrown had clear sustained concussions. They had spinal trauma and deep tissue bruising from tumbling 17 feet on concrete padding that failed to cushion their fall. Pandemonium from here erupted. Riders ahead heard the metallic wham and screams, turning to see Caleb's headless body tangled in netting 17 up. Blood sprayed across the entire structure as the raft continued down with his severed body bouncing inside of it. Schlitterbahn staff froze. Panicked parents climbed fences while first responders rappelled up the tower with hydraulic shears. Kansas City Fire Department extracted Caleb's remains after 20 harrowing minutes. as helicopters filmed the horror for national. Yeah, people are just disgusting.
They are. That's why I don't go over there.
So the park evacuated over 2,000 guests amongst all of this hysteria. Investigations would go on to expose criminal negligence, which I feel like we all knew that. The engineers of the ride had repeatedly warned the owner that the near vertical drop defied hydraulic physics. The rafts were going to become uncontrollable projectiles. Despite the test dummies flying off, one being impaled on a pole, by the way, the ride opened anyway. Oh, it was just one test dummy that ended up on a pole. Who cares? Just ride it. Just open it. Like, what the fuck? So, Kansas City health officials cited 15 violations,
Mm.
which included inadequate restraint, untrained operators, some as young as 15 years old, and they ignored the test failures. Owners Jeff and Tyler Miles faced involuntary manslaughter charges, which were, for whatever fucking technicality, were later dropped. While the civil suits, though, were settled for $20 million to Caleb's family, plus undisclosed sums to the others that were injured. The public reaction to this exploded. CNN called it modern engineering's deadliest failure. The Kansas City Star exposed how Verrückt bypassed federal safety standards via state loopholes and operating despite known lethality. Critics slammed the water park industries with bigger equals better obsession. 17-year-olds running the world's tallest slide, raft without harnesses at 60 miles an hour. The disaster killed Schlitterbahn Kansas City Park, which closed only 2 years later in 2018. The ride was demolished the following year in 2019, and it sparked national drain entrapment laws and ASTM redesigns for extreme slides. Now, today, the site sits mostly abandoned. The Verrückt's tower footprint, which is a cracked concrete scar amid the weeds that grow. 21st century monument to how modern doesn't always mean safe when profit trumps physics. And the reason that we keep revisiting these stories isn't because the details are sensational or sensational. It's because they expose a pattern. People are told these spaces are safe. Families trust the signs, the staff, the inspections, and the idea that someone else has done the hard work of making sure nothing bad will happen. But when that trust is broken, the fallout lasts for decades. It lasts even after the rides are gone because the story stays. Sometimes the land changes, sometimes the park gets rebuilt, sometimes a new name goes up. But the memory of what happened there can linger much longer than the attractions ever did. So, when you look back at the amusement park history, you can see both sides at once. You see the wonder, the family trips, the bright lights, the attractions, summer memories, and the rides that made people laugh and scream and feel alive for just a little while. But then you also see the disasters. You see what happens when maintenance fails, when safety is ignored, when dangerous systems are allowed to keep operating, and when people trust that a place built for joy will always remain harmless. But not every story about amusement parks is one of fun. Sometimes it's a story about what happens when the fun stops being carefully controlled. And apparently, the phrase, the phrase fun for the whole family needs a much stricter safety disclaimer than most parks are ever willing to give it. That's it. That's our amusement park disasters. And maybe we'll make this like a little series every once in a while, sprinkle one of these in. So there's a lot.
Maybe.
Thought it was a nice kind of segue back into the horror of everything. What do you think? Shaking your head.
I'm glad my amusement
Oh,
park days are over.
you're shaking your head. I don't know what you're thinking, lady.
Yeah, my amusement days are over.
Okay. Are you ready to hear what we're going to do next week?
Yes, what do we do?
We're going to head back to our true crime roots with a case so twisted that it'll make your skin crawl. It's a story that's equal parts chilling domestic nightmare and a head scratching how did no one notice mystery. So picture this, okay? A sweet church going grandmother from the South with a warm smile, twinkle in her eye, and a laugh that could charm the birds right out of the tree. The kind of lady who bakes apple pies to the neighbors, dotes endlessly on her family, and always has a kind word for everyone she meets. She's been widowed multiple times. She just seems to be unlucky in love. Tragedy keeps striking the men in her life one after another, always with a quiet funeral and her dabbing tears into a handkerchief while humming a little tune. But behind that picture perfect Southern hospitality was a darkness that no one saw coming. A string of suspicious deaths stretching back decades. Husbands, family members, and even in laws. Each one chalked up to bad heart, food poisoning, or just plain old misfortune. Autopsies brushed aside, suspicions politely ignored, all while she kept giggling through the grief, placing fresh obituaries in the paper like they were rescue cards. So, what made her tick? How did she pull it off right under everyone's noses for years, blending into small town life like sugar? What twisted logic justified turning love and those famous kitchen specialties into something so lethally wrong? And why, even when the truth finally came crashing down, did her smile never fade? Not for a second.
Yeah, watch out for little old lady.
So make sure you tune in next week to find the answers to all those questions. And trust us, this one is a slow burn nightmare that'll have you double checking your grandma's smile and locking your pantry door. And that's going to wrap up our wild ride through the amusement park nightmare day.
I got whiplash with listening to it.
That's it. That's all I got. Next week is going to be a wild one. I love a good oldie. You got anything?
Now,
Okay, guys. Thank you for sticking through all the derailments, the drownings, and the lawsuits. Your time in our world means everything for our little independent show here. So if we
you never know what's gonna come out of our mouth.
right, exactly. So if monsters is your weekly obsession, you want to help us keep growing, hit that and review, and subscribe button on your listening app. Okay. I look at every single review and I try to respond to any of the comments that we get on YouTube. Um, most people don't leave reviews, most people don't comment on anything. So I try to make sure I take that time to respond to those that take those few seconds to say something to us. If you want to peek behind the curtains between our episodes, the photos for each of these rides and for every episode that has photos with it, those socials, you can find those on our socials, which are linked in the episode description. You can also donate to our Buy Me a Coffee. These few extra little bucks kind of help us do things here for the podcast. If you have a case tip, local legend, or your own bizarre craziness that you would like to bring to the show, just email us. That email address is also in the description. I make sure I check my email daily. So anything you send, I will get it shortly after you send it. And that is all we have. Today we learned that it turns out the real monster at parks like this are never the Lucy. It's the complete absence of common sense. And with that haunting realization, we've got more monstrosities coming your way. Until then, stay safe out there, keep listening, and as always, remember to
Watch out for monsters.
and don't kill people. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.